What's up, guys? Rick here with your betting and one and done preview for this week's WGC FedEx St. Jude Invitational. We'll look at the betting board both from a statistical standpoint, then from my gut feel. We'll turn our attention to head-to-heads, and then we'll wrap with one and done picks for this week. Let's get into it. All right, let's go. We're going to start with the outrights and the betting portion of this preview, and with a WGC that has 78 golfers in it and there is no cut, how does that change our outright betting strategy? Well, for me, it means that we will be betting a card that is more closely aligned with the top of the betting board. The reason for that is because we really do see top-notch golfers win these events. And I know what you're thinking. Everyone in this field is a top-notch golfer. That's true, but we usually don't see 50 or 80 or 100 to 1 golfers actually win WGC events outside of maybe the match play, which is a completely different animal. But the 3-stroke play events a year that are WGCs, I mean, they are won by Rory Mcilroy, Dustin Johnson, Justin Rose, Jason Day when he was in his prime, Hideki Matsuyama. It ends up being really top-tier talent. So the way that I kind of handle this is I focus a lot of my attention on the top of the betting board. Now, what does that look like for this week? Well, we actually do have quite a bit of expected value when it comes to who could potentially win this golf tournament. Now, these odds and the EV, of course, considering the fact that this is a 4-round event, which usually the cream does rise to the top in a 4-round event. Jon Rahm, the new #1 player in the world, is basically the only guy at the top of the betting board that I do not have as an expected positive value to win this golf tournament. Justin Thomas does return positive expected value, and what that means is Las Vegas and his odds to win indicate and imply that he will win this golf tournament about 9% of the time. I have him getting to the target score about 12.5% of the time, making that a 3.5% value. Rory Mcilroy checking in at 11.5 to 1. One of the bigger values on the board, believe it or not. He's someone who's probably going to get an investment from me. Bryson DeChambeau, a small favorite. Patrick Cantlay, a pretty significant favorite. I mean, there is really a lot to choose from here. We'll talk about the way that I'm going to handle this in a second, but I'll flip to the top 5 here for a second, because Rory is, I don't think I've ever seen a situation where Rory is a positive expected value to win, to finish in the top 5, to finish in the top 10, and to finish in the top 20. It gets progressively lower in expected value in each of those categories, top 5, then top 10, then top 20. So betting him outright is probably the, quote, best bet, but really interesting to see how much green is on this sheet after weeks of, quite honestly, not having a lot of outright value to even bet. So we've already identified there's a lot of different ways that you can go. So which ways am I going here? My personal belief is that Rory Mcilroy is probably a pretty good bet for this week. And I like that the model backs that up with positive expected value. And the reason that I personally feel this way about Rory Mcilroy is he should be 8 to 1 in this field, right? He should be the Jon Rahm who is 8 or 8.5 to 1 to win this golf tournament. When Rory has just been fine by his own standards since the restart. But when you look at WGC events, Rory Mcilroy shows up. In his last 13 WGC events, he has finished outside the top 11 one time. Think about that. He's got 2 wins. He's got a bunch of top 5s. Only once has he really disappointed us. Other than that, he's been in contention almost constantly. So I'm going to invest in that, I believe, this week. I understand the reason of betting someone like Xander Schofley, And Xander is going to be a very popular bet this week. He's going to be a popular one and done pick, which we'll talk about a little bit later, because he has this narrative around him that he is a great no-cut player. And it's not necessarily wrong. It's not just a narrative. Xander has a WGC victory. He has a Tournament of Champions victory. That's no-cut event. Both of those are. And he does have, from round to round, an incredibly high ceiling and an incredibly low floor in terms of these top-tier golfers. He's more volatile round to round than most of these guys. So when you have an event where a cut is being made after 2 rounds, if he has one of his bad rounds before the cut, it's very possible he misses the cut. I mean, he shot a 78 in the opening round at Muirfield Village, was basically out of the golf tournament before going pretty ham over the next 3 days to end up finishing like T12. But like, that's what Xander can do. So I understand the appeal of betting him as an outright here. This would be, I don't know if I'll get to Xander. I don't know if he'll make my final card. He's currently, I see him at 20-1. But I will say that this is the hardest I've thought about betting Xander as an outright in a long time. I'll just say that. So I don't know what you want to glean from that, but I might get him on my card, but this is the closest I've ever been if I do not. I imagine Daniel Berger is going to be very popular this week to bet. I still have him as a negative value, even with his great run of success recently, which I know includes a win. I know it includes a bunch of top 10 finishes. I know he has won here at TPC Southwind twice, non-WGC versions of this event. So I get it. That's what's going to garner a lot of this ownership. The model still says he does not win this golf tournament enough to make a bet on him at 30-1. I want to talk about that price in a second because there's another guy there who's driving me crazy. But Berger's probably not going to get an investment from me. I think, maybe a one and done situation. Of course, if you still have access to him, maybe having him in a DFS lineup. I'm not sure I'm willing to commit to the outright here. I do kind of like Tommy Fleetwood. The buy low on Tommy Fleetwood at 30, I see him at 36.5-1, which is a very random number, but that's what I'm seeing him at right now on DraftKings Sportsbook. Tommy was way better than what his results kind of indicated last week. It was kind of awkward where he got himself in a couple uncomfortable positions, and when you have not played golf on the PGA Tour since the Arnold Palmer Invitational, and this is your first start back, and you've got some weird, awkward situations, like, I'm willing to chalk that up to rust because there were flashes of real brilliance from Tommy Fleetwood last week. Now, does he get his first American win right at a WGC event? I don't know, but I think it's a pretty good price on him. The one thing that I'm so confused about, and I do not understand this, DraftKings Sportsbook has Matthew Fitzpatrick at 28-1. He has the 9th shortest odds. I don't know why. Like, he's fine. He's a fine play. I don't mind betting him, but not at 28-1. That means he has shorter odds than Colin Morikawa, who won 2 starts ago. Daniel Berger, who's already won in the restart, has a bunch of top 10s and has won at TPC Southwind twice. Shorter than Brooks Koepka, shorter than Hideki Matsuyama, shorter than Victor Hovland, who's been one of the best players in the world since the restart, shorter than Tony Finau, who I guess outside of melting down has been awesome for a couple of weeks, shorter than Dustin Johnson, Patrick Reed. Patrick Reed won the last WGC event that we had. Shorter than Tommy Fleetwood. Like, you get where I'm going with this. I just don't understand it. I don't. William Hill has him at 35-1, which I guess is better. Maybe more accurate. I get Fitzpatrick played well at Memorial. I know he's a Bermuda grass guy. He's also never won on the PGA Tour, right? All of his other wins are European Tour wins. I think he's got 3 or 4 of them. This, to me, I spent so much time staring at this number this morning, and I still don't know why it's like that. So I guess if you're trying to bet Matt Fitzpatrick, don't do it on DraftKings. Go get him somewhere else. Go get him at William Hill. Go get him. I don't know where else. I don't know what his number is anywhere else. But I just could not believe that number when I saw it. This morning. So my card, it'll probably be small and top heavy, which means probably Rory, maybe Xander, maybe Tommy Fleetwood. I think the way to play this is even lean into the live betting a bit more, because what you could easily see is you could see a guy go out on Thursday, be 1 under, and then play his way back into this. I mean, we saw it with Adam Long last week. He makes the cut on the number. He finishes second. Just goes absolutely nuts on the weekend. I think I would prefer to save some bullets for in-play action this week when it comes to outrights. Head-to-head matchups. Let's see if we can find some on the simulator here. And I've got some things in the works for this head-to-head matchup simulator tool. I love it. I want to do one for kind of round by round stuff. So stay tuned for that. Let me see if I can find a couple of cool matchups for this week. Let's go with this one. I imagine would be pretty big. Rory McIlroy versus Patrick Cantlay. Let's see what we can find here. Simulator says Rory wins this 55% of the time, -125. I see his true odds at -137, so that is probably a no bet, not big enough. All right, let's do this one. Because I don't understand the Fitzpatrick thing, let's do this one. Let's do Fitzpatrick versus Terrell Hatton. Terrell Hatton. Those two guys are on they're on two different planets at the moment. Yeah, I have Hatton winning this thing 60% of the time, which is -150. And DraftKings has him at -118. So I would be betting Terrell Hatton. It also helps that this goes into the continued lack of understanding that I have around the general consensus that is Matthew Fitzpatrick this week. I don't know. I do not know. Let's see if I can find one more. Oh, this would be a good one. Daniel Berger versus Gary Woodland. I have Gary Woodland as a fairly small favorite, 51% of the time, -107, which I guess you should bet because Berger is -137, Woodland +110. So I have Berger as a small favorite. DraftKings has him as a small dog. That is probably a Woodland bet on that side of it. If it interests you, you can go in and plug as many different matchups as you would like into this simulator. Have a go at it. Let's talk one and done. I know a lot of Tony Finau owners were out there feeling like they missed out on a big prize, but let's go look at the full field values and then who was popular last season. And no surprise, the highest owned golfer last year was Xander Schofley. I think he will continue to be highly owned this year as well. In fact, let's go see how many people even have Xander left. I guess a lot could. Okay, so he's been used by 41% of owners in this one and done. That means, what is that? 59% have him available. So he's been used like the 12th most. Hideki's been used the most. 62% have used Hideki already. Then Sungjae, which, whew, man, he really fell off of a cliff. Okay, we'll go back. Let's go back here. So Xander, incredibly popular last year. I assume he will be this year. Justin Thomas was popular last year. Bryson DeChambeau, Patrick Cantlay, and Dustin Johnson. Now, I don't know what to do with DJ, right? I don't know what to do with Brooks Koepka. I guess if, like, you had to choose between, like, I think I made the comment in the DFS video that one of, like, Finau, Koepka, or Dustin Johnson, like they could win somebody all the GPPs this week. I kind of feel that way about one and done too, because nobody wants to play them, and they are still certainly capable of going nuts. Now, I guess I would prefer DJ a little bit more, even though what I've seen from DJ in his last 3 rounds going 80, 80, 78 is almost incomprehensible. However, DJ won like 3 weeks ago. He won the Travelers Championship just a few weeks ago. Brooks's lack of form goes back a lot further than this. It goes back basically to this event last year. I mean, Brooks hasn't been good since he won this event last year. So that's concerning. And then Finau, let's be real here. If I told you Finau finished 3rd and 5th in his last 2 starts, you'd be running out to get him right now. Or 3rd and 8th, excuse me. But because of the way he did it, nobody really wants to invest in him again. So I get it. So I guess where I'm going here is if you are leading your one and done and you are looking to stay chalky, I imagine that a Xander Schofley or a Daniel Berger are your best options. I mean, it's a big purse, but everybody gets paid. But you could go and get Xander, you could go and get Berger, and you'd be just fine. If you wanted to take on a little risk or a lot of risk, Finau, DJ, Brooks are interesting, and I probably rank them in that order, Finau, DJ, and Brooks, in the order that I would want to play them. And that would be only in a situation where I am trying to make up ground and I'm trying to catch the guys ahead of me. Then if I really wanted to take a top tier guy, so there's this little hybrid strategy that I've been kind of advocating the last couple of weeks, where a lot of people email me or send me a DM or something and they're like, hey, I'm like near the top of the leaderboard in my one and done. I don't necessarily want to just take the chalk every single week, but I don't want to take the 30th guy in the field every single week. So I kind of looked at it like this. Look at the top 5 favorites every single week and then take the guy who is likely to be the least owned. Because realistically, the top 5 favorites are all generally razor thin to one another. Maybe not as much this week. I mean, Jon Rahm's 8.5 to 1 to win the golf tournament. JT's 10, Rory's 11.5, and Bryson's 12. Those guys are all close. So look at the top 4, okay? The top 4 guys, which one's going to be the least owned, and pick that golfer. This week, I think that's probably Rory, right? Because it's easy to save Rory for Augusta. It's easy to save Rory for a major championship. He hasn't been playing as well as Rahm, JT, or Bryson. So I think if you want to play the hybrid strategy, Rory is your pick. That is the way that I believe that to be. Outside of that, I mean, if you really wanted to get freaky, Tommy Fleetwood, I think that'd be really freaky. I don't know if you have to necessarily do that because I think there's other options, but that's generally the strategy for the kind of situations that you're in that I think is where you should go. I don't know where I'm going to go yet. I guess it depends on where I'm at in my leagues. I think I'm in 3 different one and dones. We'll see where I'm at in each one and pick accordingly. Let me know who you're picking. You can tweet me at RickRunGood, or you can leave a comment below. Best of luck this week with everything. I'll talk to you soon. Later.